momentarily. Okay. What is going on, everybody? We're going to get things going in just a minute. Going to let the stream catch up here. And obviously, got to get that tweet going. But it is now 1 o'clock on the dot. Let's roll that up. Wow.
I am getting MLB The Show hand with Diablo because it's one button.
Oh, what a way to start the show. Not the return of course, not so fun times on a controller, but we're going to get to all that in just a second. My name's Matt. I'm going to be your host for this edition of the PlayStation Drive, episode 105. I'm joined, as always, by the Supreme Court of Canada himself, Mr. Court Lalonde. What's up, Court?
Hey, buddy.
What's going on?
Yeah, I was not prepared. I did streaming and I was researching, so there is no tweet. I'll put something up in the PlayStation Drive section of the Discord. We're live. Sorry, everybody. I shouldn't have done what I did today. I tried to learn how to stream today. I'll get there. I'll figure it out.
I believe in you, dude. I believe in you. You listen. You opened up the floodgates. The things are starting. You got on there today. Super proud of you for doing so. But this week we are also joined by one of the hypest people on the internet, here to hit us with all of the best takes on this World Wide Web of ours. GameXplain's Jake Steinberg. What's up, Jake?
Oh my God, best takes. All right, okay, I gotta settle in now. But oh my God, I'm so happy to be here. M and C,
Pressure.
the MCs of the PlayStation Drive.
Oh my God.
Wow. Oh my
was
God.
right
You just
there.
did that. That's a t-shirt.
I am so ready to be a passenger prince on today's PlayStation Drive. I've been thinking about this forever. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Dude, of course, we had to find like the nicest chair that we had in the basement to strap to the top of the car with a bunch of duct tape. So you have a throne on this journey of ours. Yeah, right.
I like it. It's good.
Jake, before we get into...
Go
ahead, Corey.
It's gritty in the background. It's mesmerizing me.
That's from hockey?
Yes.
Yeah.
See? I'm just kidding. I knew that
Well,
one.
Matt, see, honestly, Matt, you're learning every
I knew
day.
that because of Abbott Elementary and not because of anything else. But... Jake, before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, if somebody somehow doesn't know you, give us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about GameXplain.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not super online, so I'm sure plenty of people don't know who I am. But yeah, my name's Jake. I am a Jewish Cuban leftist content creator and writer. I come from a screenwriting background, worked for a bunch of big studios, did a lot of consulting on movies that you've probably seen, and needed a change in my life. Moved from Los Angeles to New York City, got a master's degree, and then said, I want to talk about video games. And here I am. Now I work for the YouTube channel GameXplain. We primarily cover Nintendo. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad I get to stretch my wings a little bit, move the seat back, adjust, kick my legs out, talk some PlayStation. Yeah.
Stop playing Zelda, I guess, eh?
Listen, I've got things to say about that game.
Condo.
This isn't the podcast, but I've got things to say about I've got things to say about that game. Stay tuned.
And it's well known Court's feelings on the Breath of the Wild, so I'll never even try Tears of the Kingdom. Won't even try.
Yeah. All right,
it's okay.
I respect it.
Yeah, whatever.
But I did see someone built a condo in it, and I thought that was pretty cool.
It's okay. I was like
that is impressive.
The Metal Gears that were built, the mechs, the literal Gundams, incredible stuff. But on this week's show, we're going to be talking all about Street Fighter 6, Diablo 4, PlayStation Plus for June, and so much more. So strap in as we begin our journey. But before we get too far into it, we have to make sure we clean this dusty, dirty old garage of ours. There's so many cobwebs over the course of the last week. We got to get this stuff taken out. If you're listening to us live on youtube.com/Carpool Gaming right now, please like, subscribe, share, hit that bell so you're notified when we go live so you can see all the incredible stuff that we do over here. If you're listening to us on your podcast service of choice, hit us with those reviews, hit us with those 5 stars. And Court, if they do that, what could happen if they review on their podcast service of choice?
Wow, you always try and set me up, and I honestly have to remember every time. But we are giving away a copy to Final Fantasy 16 for launch, so you don't even have to give 5 stars. I know a lot of people say just review. Let us know your actual thoughts. We are okay with those things. Just review it, hit us up on the Discord or hit us up on Twitter, and just reply to it and say I've reviewed it, and we're okay with it.
Yeah,
that's it.
And Final Fantasy 16 may come your way. And of course, if you have an extra couple bucks to toss and tip your drivers, head to patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Out comes a cornucopia of content when you consume that dollar or whatever it is that you're wanting to contribute. We appreciate you all very, very much. But without further ado, usually I kick it to Court because obviously I know Court. I feel like every week I live in Court's mind. Every time Court thinks about something, he says, what would Matt think about this? He just goes and he just says, I wonder what Matt's doing right now. And I feel it. It's just like a tingle on the back of my neck. But this week, I want to know, Jake, what you been playing? What's been on your playlist lately, buddy?
Street Fighter.
Yes.
Non-stop Street Fighter, going online, meeting randos, ruining their lives, and moving on to the next one. It is
Are you good at the game?
yeah. It is. So I'm really into fighting games. I'm like a fighting game guy, but I've never been a Street Fighter guy. And so this was like a whole thing for me where I really went in not knowing how I was going to feel about the game. That single player mode I think is god awful, but oh boy, the actual mechanics of the game, the feeling of like knowing when you're doing something right, knowing when somebody is doing something right to you, thinking about how to react, and being able to actually in the moment come back, read what your opponent is doing, say, okay, I know that they're doing this, I know how to counter that, I can execute that, I can make it happen. Street Fighter 6 is readable and it is beautiful, and it is the kind of thing where I could turn it on, watch the highest tier players right now and know what they're doing, and maybe even take some of their strategies into my own game. I've had an unimaginably good time with this game. I can't believe it.
So how much of that do you think is like, you're obviously coming off of a history of fighting games and stepping into Street Fighter 6 is like the readability? Do you think is that factored in just based on your experience with it? Or do you think it is a very beginner friendly, maybe let's say an entry point to Street Fighter or fighting games as a whole? Do you think that's part of that inherent DNA of the game, or is that your background, or both?
I think it's the DNA of the game. Because to be totally honest, I've definitely bounced off other Street Fighter games, even though I do come from that fighting game background. And like every Street Fighter game has like a main mechanic. It's like the special thing you can do. Mm-hmm. The one in this game, you know when it's happening and you know exactly what it does, and it's not hard to execute. And I think that plays a big role. But the other thing, and I feel like the reviews did not give the flowers to this particular feature quite enough.
Okay.
Modern control scheme. Don't let these sweaty pros tell you that it's not okay. Don't let them tell you. The modern control scheme rips, because all of a sudden the game is not about the panic of, can I execute this button combination when I need to do it in that moment before my opponent does something else. Mm-hmm. The game is about, do you get it? Do you know when to be defensive and when to go in? Do you know when to make the right decisions? And it makes making the decision really easy. So now it's just, do you understand the fundamentals? And if you do, you can compete.
I'm gonna let one of our friends into the car right now, because of course we had a couple questions all about Street Fighter 6 ready and geared for you. Like Fulia asked in the Discord, what do you think about the 3 different control types available for players on Street Fighter 6? Are you a classic, modern, or adaptive control player? And I think this speaks perfectly to it. What do you think about the differences of the 3? And just like, do you feel like modern makes things too easy, or is this a great way to just, again, allow people into the fold?
I see a lot of people saying modern makes things too easy.
Okay. I like the sound of that.
And I don't believe them. And so dynamic is like a level maybe below modern, where there literally is like an AI making decisions for you.
Okay.
So that is like, kids can play the game, get through the story mode, play some arcade, you press buttons, fun things happen, 100. And honestly, I would have loved to have this when I was a kid, because I remember playing some fighting games when I was a kid and being like, how do I get the fireball to come out? So yeah, and that was kind of frustrating. But the modern control scheme, the cool thing about it is that it is balanced. So when you do a super move in the modern control scheme, it does 20% less damage because it is easier to execute. And there's all these other little adjustments and things that are tuned, and like the moves that they pick to be the moves that come out in this simplified way, where it's not just like, we're gonna autopilot for you a little bit, like past fighting games have tried to do. It is its own control scheme in its own right, and it has advantages over classic, but it also has disadvantages. And that's what's so cool about it. Because now, fighting game, it's all about sizing up your opponent, figuring out what you need to do to win. And now there's another layer to it, where if I see my opponents playing classic controls, I think I know how to take advantage of them. And if I see they're playing modern controls, I have to take advantage of them in a different way.
Does it show you before each match?
Yeah, there's a little icon like next to your health bar. It's either a C or an M.
So my question is, I was watching Ryan play it on Friday because we had some Diablo 4 difficulties.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing Street Fighter. What's with the Mario Odyssey campaign with Street Fighter in it?
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about
that. Roombas, for God's sake.
Yeah. This is one thing that, like, you know, listening to a bunch of the reviews, and I listened to yours on GameXplain, and it kind of broke my heart to hear about how it's bad Yakuza, because I'm a huge Yakuza fan.
Yeah.
Like, for me, like, that was kind of like the big draw of this game, because I'm not traditionally like a fighting game person. I think like Injustice 2 was the last one that like I kind of heavily invested in.
That's a very good game.
Yeah, like that and Mortal Kombat, like those were my stuff. So Street Fighter was always this kind of like thing that I'd look out from afar and be like, this looks cool. And the Yakuza story, like the Yakuza-esque story, I was like, maybe this is the time that I hop in. So yeah, what do you think about the story mode? Because I've heard.
I think it's a joke. So me and another so it wasn't just me reviewing it at GameXplain. We had somebody else doing it. So I got to talk to somebody else, and we both felt the exact same way. And we don't understand what everybody else is seeing, because the single player campaign, first off, it has you playing as a created avatar, which doesn't work in this universe because you look like a generic character, and they don't give you access to kind of the cartoony, over-the-top aesthetic that Street Fighter characters have. So every actual character looks so much cooler than you.
Okay.
And like, so that's like a bummer right off the top. But the way that it is structured is that I really like how me and the reviewer said this. It's like the worst part of JRPGs, because you'll run up to somebody and get your quest, and they'll say, okay, now you need to go over there on the other side of the map. And I'll go, oh, okay. And I'm running over there. And as I'm running there, I am attacked by hordes of random little enemies that force me into fights that take 5 seconds to complete, because they're just like, it's like hitting a wild Pokemon.
Right. And
you just like do your little attack and they die immediately, and then you keep running, and then you get jumped again, and it just keeps happening. And I had to stop playing the story mode after like 5 hours because I just found it painful, insufferable, and it's not fun, because these battles are not what makes fighting games fun. They're not teaching you about like developing strategies, recognizing strategies in your opponents, and you're not getting familiar with a move set. You're getting familiar with a fake moveset from this fake avatar that you're never going to use. So you're not learning anything that's gonna bring, carry you into the online modes. So I just find it like functionally pathetic, and as like an entertainment thing, it's just boring. It's like, sure, there's a cool cutscene every now and then, but like, if this was their answer to Mortal Kombat, to NetherRealm's stellar, industry-leading fighting game campaigns, then Capcom needs to go back to the drawing board. And frankly, I think they did this because they knew that they couldn't meet that. I think they tried to do something different because they didn't have an answer for those story modes.
So does like the inherent silliness of it at least help like in any way, shape, or form? Because like Court was saying, like I see people fighting like fridges, fighting Roombas.
I watched Ryan play it for like an hour, and it was painful.
Yeah?
Oh, it was painful. I was just please, Xbox, let Diablo work.
I like the goofiness of Street Fighter. I really do. I wish there was a little bit more of it. This is gonna sound like such a small thing, but I think it matters. I'm like, at this point, I'm like maybe 7.5 hours into the campaign, and I still don't have any clothing options that I like. I'm still running into stores going, why can't I look cool? And it's like driving me insane. And I get the goofiness of it, but it needs to be not incidental.
Right.
I feel like a lot of the goofiness is the character creator lets you make monsters. Yeah. And making monsters is cool. But if you can't also make a hot cool guy, then I don't then everything, whatever. Then it's just a gimmick at the end of the day. Yeah.
especially because it's like I'd imagine like the kind of core crux of that single player mode being this is a character you created, look how awesome they are, and here's the power fantasy as you go on learning from the Street Fighter characters to be able to pop off. So it sounds like it doesn't really kind of hit the mark that it needs to. But I'm going to bring in another question here from Discord. Nagachaka asks, as someone who sucks at fighting games and never plays games competitively online, should I buy Street Fighter 6 given the rave reviews and the fact that Street Fighter 2 is an essential part of my gaming childhood?
There is no better time to get into a fighting game than at the beginning. I think right now I'm really hot. I'm really excited about Street Fighter. I'm having a really good time. To this particular person, I actually think I gotta say hold.
Okay.
I think just because I think Mortal Kombat might speak to you better.
Gotcha.
I'm very familiar with the feature sets of NetherRealm games. And if I don't know how it's gonna go when you jump online and you lose a couple of matches and how you're gonna feel and if you're gonna find that drive to keep going. You probably won't. But the thing about NetherRealm games is that they have so much stuff for you to do against CPUs, rewards to win, stuff to unlock that I think I would maybe hold and see what they're offering and then maybe jump into Street Fighter at a reduced price. See how that works for you.
Or on PlayStation Plus when it's there a year from now.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, okay, cool. I mean, Court, do you have any other Street Fighter related questions?
I this is not a I'll be the first to be like, it's just not for me. Like like I said, I was saying to Jake before, last time I played a Street Fighter was Street Fighter 2. With the way my arm works, Matt, any game that I have to press the same button over and over again is not working out for me. Like, just I need variety. And I like the Injustice games. Mortal Kombat, I'm like, I never had. I was a Street Fighter guy growing up. When you grew up in the 90s, it was either you play Street Fighter or play Mortal Kombat. That's just the way you did it. And I was Street Fighter. So I never really got into Mortal Kombat. Injustice 1 and Injustice 2, I think the storytelling in those is phenomenal. Okay. I would love an Injustice 3. Oh. And then give me 1989 Batman as a character. That's
oh my God. No,
that's a good pick.
I want like 1960s Batman. That's who I want. It can be Adam West Batman.
I've been wanting Booster Gold forever.
Bat Tootsie is the move. If he does the Bat Tootsie is the move, that would be amazing.
Booster Gold would be sick. Like, he'd be a really different character to bring into that. But cool. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, dude. Like, I'm excited to see you, your thoughts as they continue to change and evolve over the next little bit with the game. Court, what's been on your playlist lately, my friend?
Oh yeah, I forgot we still haven't even got to there yet.
Yeah, dude.
I have been playing Diablo 4.
Shocker.
The Devil, Super Mega Baseball. And that's it. That's and I bumped into a little bit of Destiny 2, which I shouldn't have done because I actually think it's amazing and everything was on sale. So I bought all the DLC, so all the seasons, because it was like $40 to get it all. So as soon as I'm done Diablo, I know for a fact I'm going to be playing Final Fantasy. Darn it. And then after Final Fantasy, I swear I'm going to start playing Destiny because I thought I'd never played Destiny 2. So I had a very good time with it. I'm like, ooh, like I'm having a great time with Diablo 4. But I'm still thinking about Destiny 2 in the back of my head.
Really?
Which is pretty, yes, 100%. But I was also playing Super Mega Baseball, and because we're going to get into Diablo. Well, Matt's going to say that he played it too, and we'll get into Diablo. I am doing a review currently right now for Super Mega Baseball. It's going to come out. It's going to be a review in progress. I think with these live service games, and Super Mega Baseball is definitely a live service online more than I would say what an MLB The Show is. I played about 10 hours of the game. I still think I need to play a lot more. I can give you my opinion on the mechanics and the pitching and the game not knowing what it wants to be. I can give all those opinions. The game is arcade style. Look, sorry, shouldn't say style. Arcade visuals with sim sports presentation, which for me, I look at in the video game sports world, MLB The Show is the pinnacle of sports sims for baseball. It's almost the pinnacle for sports sims. If EA would just stop trying to take like these tactics on microtransactions with their sports games and just kind of followed the path of MLB The Show and made it all about the history of the sport, it would be amazing. Super Mega Baseball looks like Ken Griffey Jr. baseball in 4K. That's what it looks like, and it plays kind of like that as well, but it has a weird pitching mechanic that I know Jake, we talked about it and he's okay with it, but I thought it was very weird. I I don't know what this game wants to be. It has these weird looking characters and it's great. It has Jose Batista, and has all my favorite Devon White. I can literally make like the 1990s Toronto Blue Jays in this game. That's amazing. Minus Alomar, but for obvious reasons, he's not in the game. But I love that factor. I feel like a kid again playing with all those characters. But then when I'm hitting like regular sports sim home runs and it's not like arcade style, I get disappointed because I like the EA big series of Blitz and all those games, and NHL those are awesome to me. And I think that's the reason I'm having my issues with this, because this is my first Super Mega Baseball game. And this is the first one they made in like 3 years. I was expecting an arcade game and I walked in and I got a sports sim game that looks like an arcade. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't I just go play MLB The Show? Like, that's my brain, the way it's working. I'm like, okay, the hitting, it's got this simple swing that barely ever hits home runs for some reason. But if you want to hit a home run, it's power swing. But if you want to do power swing, you've got to hold down on the square button and then release it with your timing. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Like, you're an arcade game. Stop this. Like, I feel like they're trying to make it too complicated and just make it fun. Like, the amount of people were like, it's really fun. I'm like, you play the show? They're like, no, I don't. I'm like, okay, that just makes sense then. It's like you haven't played these other games that are just better at what that does. There's already this game. Don't try and compete with it. Make an arcade baseball game. I would love, like when I hit Jack Morris, I put the tweet out there. I beamed him. I felt so bad. And then it says extreme pain. I was like, oh my God, this game's fun again. And guess what? Didn't score a run for another 2 innings. I'm like, oh my God, like this game, like please make it. There's nothing exciting that happens for me.
Okay.
And once I figure out the hitting, I'm like, okay, this is just boring, because guess what? Hitting home runs in this game is pointless. You can just hit single after single after single, and you'll just keep going and going and just win the game. And I'm like, well, this sucks.
What about you, Jake? Have you been playing it as well? Are you in the kind of the same wheelhouse?
I like it a lot more than Court does.
Okay.
I get where Court is coming from, and I think a lot of it might be that Court has a little bit of what doctors refer to as the show brain.
Fair.
And
right.
I think many years of overexposure to the show, you forget about how some of that stuff is not as intuitive as it might be to you. And I do think Super Mega Baseball is easier to pick up and understand. But at the same time, I get where Court is coming from, because like here's a funny thing about the game. They have a difficulty system that you can set from the number 1 to 99. It's called their ego system. And you can set it independently for both players.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in theory, what this is doing is making it so any level of player can match up with anybody else in theory. But in practice, what it is that you have no idea if you're good at the game or if the game is letting you win. And it's what is the actual game? And that is my thing with Super Mega Baseball, where I actually like the mechanics, but I don't know where the game wants me to go. Does it want me to go to Pennant Race, the online mode? Does it want me to make a franchise, a season? Because Pennant Race is stupid and it's not communicated well.
And it's just like using streamer teams. I'm like, I don't care.
You land on that front page of that game, that menu, and it's just a list of words.
Yes.
And it's like, what am I supposed to be playing? Like, what is the meat of this game? Where is it? It makes me think a lot about, Court, did you ever play maybe 2007's MLB Power Pros?
Yeah, that was not a good game.
Okay, but see, that game had a campaign, and it was like,
fair.
You are this person, and you've got to choose what you're doing in practice, how you're training, and you see that reflected in the games. And I'm like, I understand this for something like a Super Mega Baseball.
I almost think they want you to play Shuffle, but Shuffle annoyed me too, because I was like, because I went in there and I like started drafting my team, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to pick my third baseman because I know that's where they put Batista, even though it's an outfielder. So I'm like, okay, and I'm just waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and it never let me choose them. I'm like, I just wanted to be able to be like, all right, I want to create my Jays team. And then I was watching online, the person's like, all I got to do is edit them. I'm like, but the guys are already in the game. Just let me put them on whatever team I want. Like that. Why? Why?
Anytime you see the word edit in Super Mega Baseball, just know you're in for 5 more menus. just brace yourself, because you're gonna hit edit and you're gonna go another.
Like I said,
I would still like to edit.
My biggest take on this game is it doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
Fair. I'm excited to get to it, because I am curious to kind of see if I land more on the likey or the no likey side, because again, I'm not a big baseball aficionado, but I enjoy the sports game here and there.
I don't hate it. I want to say that. I don't hate
you.
it. I'm still playing it.
I know.
I'm just I want an arcade baseball game. Somebody make one.
You know, really quick though, I think there's an interesting narrative to what this game was supposed to be, because I'm such a long-time hardcore Super Mega Baseball fan that way before I worked in games, like that developer like follows me on Twitter and we've talked.
No way.
So yeah. So I'm like deep in there. And what's crazy to me about this game is that loved Super Mega Baseball 1, loved 2, 3. I was like, oh, this is too similar. And then this getting bought up, that studio getting acquired by EA. I was like, whoa. So you're telling me the next Super Mega Baseball game is going to have EA money? And then this comes out. And I go, oh, it doesn't have EA money. It has.
No, it does, because they got those players. Trust me,
that's where I'm going with this. It has EA publishing. It has EA. Yeah. We think this will get hooks in people, and the stuff largely looks and sounds the same. And to be totally honest, I wish they just had those MLB licenses. I wish I could just be the Phillies. That would really go a long way.
I'm right there with you. If I could just use the Jays. And then someone told me that if you actually go on the edit screen, that's why I keep comparing it to Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball. When that came out on the Super Nintendo, they didn't have the MLB licenses. But conveniently, if you were the Atlanta Braves, conveniently their leadoff batter was Otis Nixon, like 100%. So you could just change the person's. You just literally had to, and I did. Went into every single team, and you can edit them. Like they're Joe Carter's in the game, Roberto out. All these guys are in the game, but you have to edit them to get them. And I've been told that you can do the same in Super Mega Baseball, and I'm just like, but that's a lot of work.
Like, it's a lot of work. I did it in Super Mega 3. I made the Phillies. I even did you can make custom teams with custom jerseys and logos, and I did it. I recreated the Phillies. So it's there, but you know, I was hoping that EA money was going to do the work for me.
Yeah. And sadly, like you said, it sounds like they put more into the publishing side of it than the actual, here's more money to make a better game.
But I will say it's the first EA sports game in a long time that doesn't beat you over the head with microtransactions. Like,
that's true.
Fair.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. That's a start. Cool. That's a step in the right direction. As for myself, I've been continuing on with Resident Evil 4 Remake. I'm in like the second last chapter, still having a blast with it. Court, like at some point, just give it a whirl. I cannot believe that I'm still
playing it when it goes on sale.
Yeah,
the last one I bought because it was $19, right?
Yeah, like I'm gonna pick this up obviously again on on PlayStation to eventually put the PSVR 2 mode. But blast with it, really enjoying it. And of course, this entire weekend was just Diablo. My partner is not the biggest video game person, but she loves Diablo, and we were ready, set to go. So like Thursday night we went to see Across the Spider-Verse, which we'll get to a little bit later if we have time. But came back, and by the time I got home from the movie, the whole licensing fiasco was already fixed. So I didn't have any issues playing most of the time, except for that like 4-hour gap on Saturday. I will say that given, like, I don't think this has been the worst rollout comparative to other stuff. I think it's not been perfect. I think it's not been great, but I think it's been a good weekend for it, as long as, again, like, we knew coming into it, we were going to be doing nothing but Diablo all weekend, and that's pretty much all that we did all weekend. I'm having a blast with it. We're on Act 4. We just started Act 4, so we just unlocked our mounts. And like,
ooh, look at you super sexy,
dude.
I wasn't playing the story, and I'm almost level 30, and I wasn't playing the story at all. I just finished Act 1.
That's what we were doing. But then I started looking up, and a lot of people are talking online that apparently the end game leveling, and like especially because a lot of the story missions give you the most experience, and they're like enemies I think are capped at like level 50 until you beat the story. So the issue is if you spend a ton of time doing not the story early on, you're gonna hit level cap pretty quick, and you're basically gonna be wasting XP. So it's like, so a lot of people were saying like, don't overdo it on a lot of the extra stuff, because that's what we were doing. They were like, spend the time on the story, finish the story, and then do everything else, because then you have more flexibility in what you're doing, and you're not going to be shooting yourself in the foot. So people are like, we'll still do the occasional kind of like, world encounter, because we love getting that purple currency, which we can go and gamble for trying and get something good for the equipment. But yeah, so like we were doing the same thing, and then all over Reddit, people were like, focus on the main story and then do everything else. Otherwise, you're going to shoot yourselves in the foot, and then the grind is not going to be that fun.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so like we're really enjoying it. Like we're like, I'm really happy with the story so far. I'm actually very engaged. I think Lilith is a fantastic villain as of yet. Like I'm really enjoying what it is, and just again sitting around with Sentinel all weekend playing Diablo. It's been wonderful. Really enjoying my time with the game so far. Court, how are you feeling about it thus far?
I'm loving it. I found myself, unless there's a cutscene, not really caring about the story. But that's not to say it's a bad game. I'm at all. Like, I actually love Diablo. I've been playing it as an elder statesman, I've been playing it since the PC days when it wasn't on console and it was like the only way to play it. And it still has those warm, fuzzy feelings for me playing it. I was just playing it on stream on Carpool Gaming. Like I said, I still have Destiny 2 in the back of my head, but I can't put it down. Like Diablo 4, sorry, I haven't stopped. I'm consuming YouTube content on how to do things.
Yeah.
Like, literally before earlier this morning, at like very early in the morning, I was going around and just collecting all the Lilith statues because I found a map on my PC. So I'm just like literally not doing anything except hitting all the Lilith statues because you get all those power-ups, right? So I was going around and doing that because I watched a video on Your Raptor and he said the same thing as you, Matt. He's like, complete the story right as soon as humanly possible. It doesn't, and he was like, it doesn't really matter, just do it. Just complete the story, get it over with. And at the same time, only do the Lilith statues. Don't do any side quests because the Lilith statues, what'll happen is you get all these bonuses and those bonuses never disappear. So once you've got all those, plus you're at your finish the story, then you can start level. It'll actually be easier in end game if you've got all the little statues and everything. So it was funny as soon as you said that. I'm like, yeah, I literally heard that this morning finally. And then they were talking about certain characters. I'm a necromancer. The reason I chose it is because I do play by myself more tn most. Like I'm probably going to be playing by myself. So I watched the video and it pretty much said, if you're going to be playing by yourself, then choose the necromancer because you get the skeletons. And then, they have all the different things. I already in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish it on necromancer. And then I'm going to go in, I'm going to do probably barbarian. And then I'll do druid and I'll just keep going. I want to play the living daylights out of this game. I'm glad I got the season's pass. Like I'm enjoying my time with it.
Jake, have you hopped into the world of Diablo yet? Does it have its clutches on you?
Yeah, I've been playing quite a bit, and I'm not gaga over it like I see everybody else is. And to me, it's like, yeah, this is like a good game. I think it's really well built. I think it's like it just feels like sturdy and well put together and quality, but it doesn't feel special to me. And I've been trying to figure out what is it like. I'm playing this game, and I feel like functionally, I'm pretty much doing the near exact same things I was doing in Diablo 3, which I really enjoyed. And I think that there's just like a layer of play where it's not pushing anything strong enough for me to have like a really strong connection or strong feeling about it. I think part of that too is just like, as a human being, I'm never going to be super in love with the Diablo aesthetic, kind of the Monster Energy drink inspired world of sharp edges, demons, whatever. So I think that's a little bit part of it. And I think the other part is just that like, I pick up the sorcerer and I look at the way that the skill tree is, and I'm like, wow, I think this is organized well. It's interesting. I think maybe it's tuned in a way where I won't have to look up a guide, whereas in past games I maybe have. But then at the end of the day, when I'm pressing the buttons and attacking the enemies, I've done this before. And that's not bad, but it's just not special. And I think I
get it there. It doesn't feel that much different than 3.
And I do think that like part of it too for me is, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned, Court, like having Destiny 2 in the back of your mind playing this. What I will say is that I think this is the first time in a while that playing Diablo, and again, really enjoying it. And I think you did hit on something on there, Jake. Like I think like I'm mechanically enjoying it. I enjoy it for what it is. I really enjoy playing with my partner. But it's funny because over the last couple play sessions, in the back of my mind, I'm like, this really makes me want to go back to Final Fantasy 14. And it's just like, it's like a lot of the narrative stuff that I'm enjoying, a lot of the things that I'm seeing celebrated when it comes to Diablo 4, I'm like, Final Fantasy does all this, but better? Like, and it's just like 14 is just such an incredible game. And like, I've worked through, a couple of the expansion passes. I think I was in Stormblood. And I just, kind of fell off just because, again, a deluge of other games constantly. But being this, I'm like, I'm really enjoying this. But maybe I go back to Final Fantasy 14 after 16 now, because it's just like, there's just so much there. And like, I think Diablo is fantastic and I'm really enjoying it. And I'm very, very curious to see what kind of legs this game is going to have, because it's already happening on Twitter and on Reddit with people being like, oh, I've already, sunk 700 hours into this game. Why isn't there enough end game for me to be occupied? I'm like, bro, the game isn't even out yet. So like,
seriously, people need to, I guess as the kids who say, touch some grass.
Touch some grass, dude. So it's just like, I'm really curious to see how this is going to continue, and I'm enjoying my time with it. but it's making me want to play Final Fantasy 14, which is not at all what I kind of had expected coming into this.
Well,
Matt, I love that comment. I think that is so telling, because even when you mentioned Final Fantasy 14, just the enthusiasm in your voice, and it gave me this. It made me. I think it illuminated for me what it is, and you have a connection to that game that isn't quite. It's something about Diablo is not forging that same connection. And I've always thought that this kind of isometric action RPG with the loot and the skills, the hotbar, I always thought this was a very underserved genre. And it is like crazy to me that people don't see Diablo and go, all right, let's just do this with DC superheroes.
Right?
Okay,
it's like that would be awesome.
Why did you just do that? Now I'm thinking about a Batman game.
Because it's like,
I just want
another Ultimate Alliance now too. Like again, I really enjoyed Ultimate Alliance 3, and again, why not do this with DC? Why not do this with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Like, there's so many properties you can marry this style to that would hit so incredibly well. And I think again, Diablo is great. I'm not trying to take away from it in any stretch of the imagination. And again, hooked completely. But there is just something about the magic that's kind of missing.
Well, one thing I will say about this game that I'm playing it so much, it's the first game where this weekend I said to my wife, I need to figure out, because I work from home, so I'm able to play in the morning. I get up extremely early with my daughter, so I'm able to play like 2 hours of video games before half of you are out of bed. But and then I can play another hour, so I get about 3 hours each day. That I was like, oh my god, and I played all day Friday pretty much with Seth, and had to like take the day off work because I played too much. And so I'm just in my mind, I'm like, okay, what do I do here? So like, I've decided that I got to figure out not to play video games on the weekend. Like this weekend, I'm like, I can't play because I got hooked into this game. And the same thing happened to me with with MLB The Show. And it's happening with these type of games that have hooks. And Diablo's got that hook at me. But when Final Fantasy 16 comes out, I'm probably going to drop this game like a bad habit and hop into Final Fantasy 16.
You know what's funny though is that like I think this is the first time that I've actually, I just got the DualSense Edge because I caught it on sale, but like I actually put in those the paddles, and I remapped the L1 and the R1 to the back paddles, just so again, like, to save me the trip up to the front, like to be able to like, use the health potion and use like I have it on my dash for my rogue there, and it's just like, yeah, like I'm enjoying a lot, but like again, it's really cool. And the DualSense Edge is not bad. I'm enjoying it so far. Wouldn't pay full price for it. Don't get me wrong. I caught it very much on sale. Very happy for that. But yeah, we'll definitely keep you all apprised of our thoughts of Diablo as our journey continues. But we definitely have to hit on some news. Let's start with a Spider-Man 2 rock block. I'm going to pull out both of these stories, and we'll dissect them a little bit. The first one of which, coming from Insider Gaming, written by Mike Straw. Spider-Man 2 will feature a larger map that's twice the size of the original. When playing through Marvel Spider-Man 2 or Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, the scale of New York City that Insomniac captured was impressive. But as the old saying goes, you ain't seen nothing yet. According to a Famitsu interview with the creative director Brian Intihar, the map in Marvel Spider-Man 2 will be even bigger. We've added Queens and Brooklyn to the map, which makes it roughly twice the size of our previous work. These neighborhoods are a bit smaller and more residential, so they have a different charm than Manhattan. We have prepared some unexpected situations that we've never seen before, such as battles using the river that runs between the neighborhood, so please look forward to that. And similarly, let's add in a story from IGN written by Matt Kim that says Spider-Man 2, how Insomniac set out to create a borderline brutal Venom suit. So we already know that in 1982, we got the black suit Spider-Man. That all happened. Venom showed up. We got it all. And Brian Intihar, on a bit of a press tear here.
Spider-Man 300.
According to Intihar, at the time of Spider-Man 1 development, the team was debating whether they wanted to include it or not. And they basically went on to say that the suit needed its own game and did not include it in the first one because they needed to really build out what they wanted to do with the symbiote. And of course, as we saw in that trailer, it looks brutal. It looks heavy. I'm all about it. Court, I'm going to jump to you first. How do you feel about Spider-Man being bigger and bolder than ever before?
I think a lot of people are like, oh, how did Insomniac bring this game out? Well, they made a map in Miles Morales. They made a map in Spider-Man, and they put them together. I'm okay with that. That's the smartest thing. If they didn't do that, because there's an IGN video. They actually did a very good, almost like a Digital Foundry type video. I was actually shocked. On IGN, they were showing the similarities because you could see it. So they were taking actual map pieces of Miles Morales and Spider-Man, and they were like, this is how they made the map. Like, you can see it, and they put way more detail in it. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they added the water, the Brooklyn Bridge and all that. That's really cool too. They're saying like Spider-Man won't just like sit in the water and jump out. There's going to be more to it. I'm excited. Like this game for me, I know I'm not in the on the side of everybody, but I liked Miles Morales more than I liked Spider-Man. I thought the story was more concise and better and more well done and more powerful. The Spider-Man story was good, but Miles Morales gave me the feels, just like Into Spider-Verse. Like as a parent, I'm gonna tell you right now, there was like 3 or 4 times where I almost cried. I'm like, wow, this, and I felt that way with the Miles Morales story. I was like, wow, they did such a good thing about family, and that's one of the things I love about Miles Morales as a character. He's so more down to earth than Peter Parker. It's like I like him more. I truly do. And I love the fact that they use Christmas, so it already gave you that warm, cozy feeling. So I'm very curious what they do with how Spider-Man in the symbiote suit and how much of a dick he's going to be, and Miles as this person who looks up to somebody, and obviously the eventual fight that's going to happen. Like it's just obviously going to happen. And I was taking more from that interview. They said there's some crazy surprises that we don't see coming. What if we get Gwen? Like what happens if we get Spider-Gwen? Like that's at the end, like that's in my mind after watching Spider-Verse. All I was doing is going, what is this surprise? Like we know we're going to get symbiote suit, Miles fights Spider-Man. Like I think what you said, Matt, is obviously going to happen. And then that's when we get Venom. But when is Spider-Gwen coming into play? Like when are they going to do it? Because you're going to have to. I think you have Miles in here. I think it's almost like a foregone conclusion at this point. Interesting.
Jake, where are you at on all this?
Oh, so many thoughts. Yeah. So first, on the size of the map, I honestly both of these stories, I kind of feel they're more marketing speak than not.
100%.
Because I think honestly, I think part of the size of the map is function over form. I think because of it being on PS5 and the changes they've made, Spider-Man is zooming through the city faster.
Yep.
And if they don't increase the size of the map, it will feel smaller to the player. So for that reason alone, you kind of have to have a larger map. As somebody that used to live in New York City and is very fond of it, I remember during like the COVID lockdowns, I went in Spider-Man and like found my apartment. Like, you know that, yeah. Like that part of it is so fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm a huge fan of these games. The trailer at the showcase instilled a lot of good feelings and also instilled some worries in me.
Okay.
The number one, I haven't seen anybody talk about this, so now I just want to get this off my chest.
Better rip.
The biggest improvement in Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation 5 is that they have gotten rid of what I have for years now described as the Spider-Man problem. So any review you saw of Spider-Man, that first Marvel Spider-Man game that came out, makes you feel like Spider-Man. We're all familiar with this, right? It makes you feel like Spider-Man. But I always thought that being able to freely pause the game to select a web gadget, decide how I was going to react, pick the web gadget, and use it, did not make me feel like Spider-Man, and it broke up the rhythm of the game, making an already easy game that much easier.
Okay.
That is not in Spider-Man 2. We have replaced that quick wheel, that weapon select wheel from Ratchet and Clank is gone.
Really?
Now we have a hot bar on the bottom of the screen. L1, R1, you press the button. There is no slowdown time. Go into that wheel, pick a gadget, doesn't exist. Yes, that is what you do in a sequel. They went back to they reanalyzed.
Keep games easy, Jake. Keep games easy.
Oh gosh, and I don't mind that. I don't mind that. But to me, I'm not necessarily talking about easy in terms of difficulty. I'm talking about friction. Like how when you web sling in Marvel Spider-Man, I think it does too much of the work for you. I don't feel like I'm being carried by momentum as much as I feel like I'm kind of in a bit of a canned animation, and the game doesn't want me to mess up.
Okay.
And that's been like kind of a criticism of mine with these games. But seeing that they took something core to their combat experience, that quick select menu, went back to the drawing board, tuned it up, I felt like they were speaking to me. It made me really, really happy. Yeah, so I was really glad to see that.
I cannot wait for this game. I think that especially people were saying it's like, oh, do we really need a larger map? I actually found that what we got with both Spider-Man and Miles, I think I fast traveled maybe 5 times total across both games just because the actual movement through the city was so much fun. And for them to now amplify on this and, give you the wingsuit abilities, help you even, move around quicker and more in cooler ways, I'm all in on that. So we can't wait for Spider-Man. We're obviously very, very hyped. And we'll keep you posted if we get anything more at Summer Game Fest. PlayStation Plus, let's hit it up with, because we got our essential games for June. We are getting the PS5 and PS4 editions of NBA 2K23, Jurassic World Evolution 2, and Trek to Yomi, also both on PS5/PS4. Jake, how we feeling about this month's June essential games?
Personally, fine. From like a professional point of view, it's fine. I feel like it's funny. The games that show up in the monthly thing have kind of fallen off for me because that other tier is so good now.
Extra.
And
extra
because extra rips. But I feel like NBA 2K23, that's, such a huge game. I'm sure that means something to somebody. My NBA playoff hopes were dashed about a month ago, so I can't even think about the NBA without getting misty-eyed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not familiar with the Jurassic World game, and I feel like I've seen the name Trek to Yomi.
It was on Game Pass.
Okay, so maybe that has some juice to it, but these aren't games that I'm going to be taking up space on my hard drive, my sweet hard drive, Yeah.
Especially because NBA 2K23 is probably like 7,500 gigs.
Not even that. It's also going to ask you to put so much more money in it and be like, play this slot machine, do this. NBA 2K23 is notorious as the worst microtransaction sports franchise in the world. It's so
worse
bad,
than FIFA.
Dude. Worse than anything. It makes FIFA look. It literally has actual slot machines in the game. This game in Europe, they don't even you can't. Most places in Europe, they can't add anything, and the game is just a shell of itself. There is actual slot machines in the game.
Wow.
There are unskippable ads.
Yes.
Like you're watching a YouTube video and you can't skip the ad. It's like.
Incredible.
And when you're playing the game, there's ads on the when you're in the menu screen, there is ads behind. It is the epitome of a European hockey jersey that has every 15 million ads on it. That's what this game is. I don't touch them. Jurassic World is a PC game that is still on console that is way better on PC. It's SimCity with Jurassic Park. It's very cool, but it's still better on Trek to Yomi. I played it on Game Pass. It wasn't a thing for me, but it was all right. It just wasn't that heavy hitter at the time.
Yeah, I think for me, this is a solid month. Again, similar to Jake, I just don't think these games are for me. NBA isn't one I'm going to hop into. I tried Yomi similarly to Court on Game Pass. Didn't really vibe with me. And again, Evolution 2 is just not my kind of game. But these are going to be available as of tomorrow, June 6th. So at least toss them in your library. Of continuing the trend of things announced after the showcase because of reasons, coming from the PlayStation blog. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is coming to PC on July 26th. It's coming from Julian from Nix's, confirming that it is Nix's who is working on the PC port.
Thank God.
And it's coming with a whole bunch of PC features, including ray-traced reflections, different supports for resolutions, and a whole bunch of other stuff like unlocked frame rates and more.
And I think obviously it's Nix's because they obviously did the Spider-Man, so they already worked in this engine. But
yeah,
if I'm PlayStation, as someone that's played almost every PC port now, only Nix's is allowed to make it and no one else.
Yeah, seriously.
Because I was the one on Uncharted. I was like, this is not that good. And everybody at first, another one of those games where some reviewers were like, it's great. And then as it got on, all the PC players were like, when they finally got it in Steam, they're like, this isn't that good. And then Last of Us, we didn't even play. This Spider-Man PC was the quintessential version of Spider-Man. It was unbelievable. Mm-hmm. I expect Ratchet and Clank to be that as well.
Agreed. Jake, have you played Rift Apart? Are you excited about it coming to PC?
Oh my God, Ratchet and Clank's one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. I got that platinum. Rift Apart, that's awesome. I'm with these PC ports. I'm not really trying to recreate my PS5 experience, but I am always curious about how these things run on Steam Deck. So that's what I'll be checking it out for.
Yep.
Yeah.
Likewise, if I can have Ratchet and Clank on the go with me on Steam Deck, I'm in. I'll play this all over again on my commute to and from work. And incredibly in on this. Still confusing as to why this wasn't at the showcase, but all right. Sure, let's put the Gran Turismo trailer instead of announcing this, which would be such an easy win.
I will until Jason Schreier finally puts out the video, the article, I am still gonna say that part and the Project Q was not supposed to be in the presentation, and that was 100% something else, probably factions. And when they said they're going to delay it, then they were like, "Well, we can't do anything. Let's just throw in this," because it. I even saw the trailer before Spider-Man, and I'm like, it doesn't even make sense here, and it was already in a video game presentation. Like that trailer made no sense. It destroyed all pacing. Even Project Q made no sense.
Yep.
I'm still to this day, I'll never let it go. There was supposed to be a game there.
Right.
It wasn't supposed to be that trailer.
But why not just use this?
I'm not. Yeah. Or the VR2 stuff, right?
And well, the VR2 stuff, which we're going to get into right now, I think it's because it came from the Meta event.
Yes. No,
so
it's who paid what to advertise. That makes sense.
Coming to our next story from PlayStation Lifestyle, written by Michael Larry, Bulletstorm VR announced for PSVR 2. Bulletstorm was one of the most unique shooters from 2011, and now it's back in virtual reality. Developer People Can Fly announced Bulletstorm VR, and it will be coming to PSVR 2, MetaQuest 2, MetaQuest 3, MetaQuest Pro, and PC VR. It does not have a price or a release window as of yet.
It's in the PlayStation Store. Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Okay.
It's there.
And I'm going to add this next one before we talk about both. Vampire the Masquerade Justice is a new PSVR 2 adventure coming late 2023. Eric from Fast Travel Games talks about how they're making a adventure RPG where it's set in the world of Vampire the Masquerade. You play a vampire and you go around doing some stealthy stuff, killing some folks. It looks kind of like Dishonored Light and vampires-ish. Kind of, but we will definitely keep you posted as to both of these. But
it looks like not a game I'm gonna play.
I'm in on both of these. Bulletstorm was a game I've never checked out, but I mean, why not in PSVR?
Well, Bulletstorm looks. I'll tell you this: Bulletstorm looks amazing, and I still to this day am playing Beat Saber once a week.
Yeah.
Bulletstorm right here, just announced. It is no price. It's just a wish list.
Yep. There you go. So we don't know when either one of these games are coming. Well, Vampire, they've said late 2023, so it should be this year.
I will guess when you look at the pricing on these, like Ghostbusters is I'll go to Transformers is probably a good barometer on what these games are going to cost, right? Because it's on the higher end. And Transformers and so the 39. I'm going to go out there and say Bulletstorm's $39.99.
USD Canadian? No way. It's going to be more expensive than that.
You think so?
I agree. 100%. I agree.
Oh no! I was gonna say we have a it's called Touch the Beat, and it's got a anime girl on it. It's $46.99. I was like,
dude, this is gonna be at least 50.
Did it really Touch the Beat?
It's gonna be 50 Canadian dollars easy.
Ryan Turfer game I've ever seen in PSVR.
Jake, are you a big VR dude? Does either one of these stories do anything for you?
I'm love my PSVR 2.
Yes,
deeply.
you do.
Deeply. I for a while I was like, is Horizon? I'm really gonna come across a certain way to your audience, so I apologize. I was very strongly like, is Horizon Call of the Mountain gonna be my game of the year? That's how much I enjoyed that video.
It's my favorite Horizon. Like, stop.
Me too.
Full stop.
The bar's not that high for me.
It was great.
But only time I was even mildly interested in the Horizon universe, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But like these two games, they both have something in common. They are properties names that I feel like have been thrown at me for the better part of a decade. True. That I didn't care about then, and I'm so sorry. It's not going to work this time. And especially for, PSVR 2, I get it. You sell your initial units to the hardcore that's going to buy them no matter what. Mm-hmm. We get them. Now, where is that second wave? Where is that next thing? Where's that hard sell to get that next group of consumers? I cannot believe it wasn't at the showcase, and 100%. I can't believe this is what they're putting on my radar. It's like, it's sad in a way.
No, I'm with you. Like, I'm excited. It's at this point where it's just like, I'll take anything I can get. Like, I just want stuff to play here, so I will check both of these out. But Court, does either one of these excite you at all as someone who is new to VR?
Bulletstorm looked good.
Okay.
It looked good. And after you talking about Pablo, I'm like, okay, so if we go on the spectra of what the most expensive VR games are $53.49 Canadian.
Okay.
So I don't think Bulletstorm is going to be that expensive. I really don't.
How much was Horizon on its own?
I don't know, it doesn't say. Well, hold on. If I click on it, I own it. It's in my library, right?
Yeah. Did either of you guys play the Light Brigade?
No, but I've heard it's solid.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the. Oh
really?
My god! Yeah, it was
Light Brigade. What is this?
Roguelite, perfect VR experience.
Of course, out.
Yeah. See, I'm in.
We're done.
Call of the Mountain is $79.99.
Really, eh?
On its
I
own.
don't think Bulletstorm is $79.99. I think you know what? Pizza bet. Bulletstorm is $39.99 Canadian.
If it's anything more than $49.99, I win.
All right. Pizza bet.
Pizza bet. Done. I'm telling you, dude. Believe me, as somebody who's been like in the PSVR ecosystem since its beginning, it will always be more expensive than you think it is because there is inherent VR tax when it comes to this stuff. It will be more expensive. It just will.
You have it in the bag. You have it in the bag. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's let a couple friends into the car. We have a couple
Jake
questions.
From State Farm. Watch yourself.
Let's get a couple questions in, and then if we have time, we'll rattle off a quick prediction each. Because we have a couple questions. The first one coming from Ash_Trobot, a Flash Trobot over on Twitter, that says, how confident are we about the Konami revival? With MGS3 and Silent Hill being remade, how confident are you that these games will deliver? Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, so the Konami games, I just like missed the boat and never played any of these things. So I'm not really the best person to ask, but I will say, my observation with Konami is that I know that there's a lot of discourse right now in Japan with their gambling laws, and it has made it harder for them to completely go all in on their like pachinko and gambling business. That's a huge part of who Konami is. Mm-hmm. So now they kind of have incentive.
Don't forget the gyms.
Well, and now they have extra incentive now to make sure they're investing in other revenue sources. So I think the return to gaming is strongly because of that situation. Will they be able to deliver these games in the way that people want? I don't know. So much of the identity of those games, I feel like, is wrapped up in the kind of auteurship of Hideo Kojima. Mm-hmm. And I know that the one that they announced is like a remake, and it seems like it's going to be a remake that's interested in having a high fidelity to the source material. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people are imagining like a Resident Evil 4 level remake, I think those expectations might need to be set. But it has been so long since so many of these franchises and games have come out from anywhere that I think people will it will be a more positive than negative experience, at least at first.
Court, what do you think? Is Konami going to stick the landing?
Honestly, I don't care. I have a hard time giving an opinion on this because I truly think they're not going to. Like in the back of my mind, I'm like, for everything Jake just said, makes me think they're not going to. It's because I also read articles about how the only reason they're making games again is because they can't make as much money off the stuff, the gyms and all the stuff they were doing before. When Capcom did it, it's because they wanted to. Yeah. They wanted to get it. Capcom is the best story of a revival of a franchise from the 80s and 90s that still can make video games just as good as anybody else. Konami, I remember the shovelware they used to put out in the 80s and 90s. That's what worries me. That's what worries. Capcom used to always be the best in the 80s. Like they were always one of the best developers out there. Konami had their Bayou Billies. Like they had games like this.
Hey, Super Bomberman R still nowadays that exists. They put that out. It's nothing.
I just I need to play it, and but I'm worried. I'm worried that a game I love like Metal Gear Solid 3 is gonna suck.
I'm with you both. I was nervous coming into this because it's like, what was the last game that the Konami development team worked on? Was that Metal Gear Survive? Was that the last console one that would have hit? Like, was there anything?
I'll Wikipedia it.
Like, was there anything in between now and then? Because again, like they're being very, very like shy about the fact that this is a Kojima joint. Like this was birthed from Kojima. I'm sure we're not going to see nary a mention outside of like the credits at the very end to maybe get a name drop for him there. But like, I just don't, and like again, I didn't know about the gambling stuff, so that makes me even more nervous. And like again, I was thinking like
you saw didn't know about that's. They literally have like Metal Gear gambling machines.
I know they have that. I didn't know that they were running into issues with the laws in Japan as to what they're able to do. So, I will be pleasantly surprised if these turn out to be okay. Like
Metal Gear Survive was the last game.
So there you go. Like they haven't been in it. Like again, now finding out that the first story was the voice cast is back. No. The voice cast is not back. They're reusing all the audio. So it's like there's so much here that's going on that's just smells like we want money. Give us money. Here's your nostalgia money, please. So I feel like functionally they'll probably be fine. But I think with the barrier that we've hit with with Demon Souls, with Resident Evil 4 remake, with a lot of these remakes that we've gotten that do push it to a higher fidelity, that do build on what was there before while also being, honoring what it was. I really do feel like Delta is just going to be like, here is Metal Gear Solid again. We changed the name so we don't have to say Kojima. And this is what you're getting. Please be happy. Here's a multiplayer mode, by the way, that's monetized to hell and back. So I don't know. I would love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong, but in my gut, I just don't feel good about it. Let's get to one last question coming from Black Wyver, who asks, why does it feel that Insomniac has cracked the code on next gen and is leaps and bounds ahead of the many other studios? From games like Miles Morales, Rift Apart, and upcoming Spidey 2, they are churning out top-notch games in short periods of time, where other studios, not just limited to Sony, are struggling to develop and deliver acceptable quality. Court, what is Insomniac doing that is just working for them?
They've been doing it for so long that they're doing what I always say about developers. It's like, okay, when you have something that's working, just keep doing it. There's so many developers like, oh, we want to try this. We want to try something different. And I'm always like with Rocksteady, I'm like, just make a Batman game. Like, just make the Batman game. Don't make Suicide Squad. Just make another Batman game. Like, Insomniac's like, hey, we've got this. We did Spider-Man and we did it in our way, like the Ratchet. It's just, Jake, you kind of brought up a point I made a long time ago when I was playing Spider-Man. I'm like, it's Ratchet and Clank, but with Spider-Man. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's Ratchet. But Ratchet and Clank are amazing. Like, these are great games, and they've always been good, and they've always been quality. Insomniac's a lot like Naughty Dog to me, where they've honed their craft so well and obviously treat their employees well enough that they don't go anywhere. So when you do that and you have a good culture in your workforce, you're going to get a good product. Plain and like, that's just the way I look at it. I look at Insomniac. I never hear a Jason Schreier article about Insomniac. It never comes out. Like, it probably will one day. Who are we kidding? But you don't hear about people from Insomniac leaving like you do on other major studios right now. Like, you just hear all these people leaving everywhere and starting all these studios. You never hear, oh, from the Insomniac studio, this guy's starting this. That never happens. They've done such a good job at, my guess, is treating their employees properly. That's where I really think with Insomniac, the reason why they churn out these great games, because they don't treat their employees like garbage.
Jake, what's in the Insomniac secret sauce?
Yeah, I think Court's right on it. I think that there is a secret underbelly of capitalism that is kind of to blame for a lot of the gaming flops as of late. And I think a huge part of that is an over-reliance on contractors and contract work rather than fully employing and keeping employees and like building a team and building shared knowledge in a workplace. And it's funny, I see this kind of looking, I guess, across the aisle for this podcast on the Microsoft side and how those studios have historically had a huge over-reliance on contract work and how that breeds infamiliarity with systems and kind of like a workplace environment in which you are doing a job to get it done. And the culture at Insomniac seems to be much stronger than that. And I'm going to say more unified. I've seen Insomniac kind of like have cultural statements and commentary and talk about things that are important to them and talk about how like they don't crunch and they come out in support of particular social issues and whatever. And you can have whatever opinion on any of those things that you wish to have, I guess. But I think what it really showcases is that they are able to function as units within themselves. And I think that that's really powerful because what you get there then is people who, because they're employees, they are working their way up. And they're somebody who is familiar with the development structure from the bottom to the top. And you have people like Brian Intadar who wasn't always top of the food chain. And that's and I think that that's something like really powerful and cool and special about certain workplaces. So
it's interesting you say that, Jake, because I just went on their webpage, and so the number one articles are global accessibility awareness, community spotlight, let's talk about virtual photography, Women's History Month, International Women's Day, celebrating Black History Month. That's what their number one articles are. Then you can click on games.
They have ethos.
But their news beats are those.
And it's like you've both mentioned,
Or
like
honoring a former employee with something they put into Ratchet and Clank.
like that's what I mean. Like they genuinely seem like they care. You have stories coming out about how they don't crunch, which how often is it that we get stories like that, right? Like they genuinely seem like they take care of each other. They put love into what they're working on, and it genuinely seems like they all have each other's backs in a way that, you know, they seem like
And they're going to bring Sunset Overdrive to the PlayStation. Right?
They're going to bring Sunset Overdrive to the PlayStation. I think Insomniac is probably like the best, AAA developer that PlayStation has under their underneath their hat. Naughty Dog, of course, is incredible. There's a lot to celebrate all across the industry, but Insomniac has just nailed it front to back.
They even have the catalog: Spyro, Resistance, Ratchet and Clank, Sunset Overdrive. You know, it was on Xbox. The game was phenomenal, which turned into Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Like Sunset Overdrive and Spider-Man, the same game. Let's just be honest. One's just swimming on the web.
Yep. But I think that, I think we've kind of nailed it on Insomniac's front there. But that, of course, brings us to the end of the show. Before we go, let's quickly run through our wonderful patrons. Of course, we want to give a huge shout out to everybody who joined us over on Patreon. But we got to shout out our ultimate producers, Robbie Bobby Miller. Head to twitch.tv/Robbie Bobby Miller. Tony Baker, you can head to youtube.com/quest4pixels. Jonathan Brown, you can go check out his link tree at pme.jib, and of course, go check out Video Game Boy. It is awesome. Lee Navarro, who is the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive team, you can head to phoenixoverdrive.com. Our platinum producers, Markus McCracken and RJ Kern, and our gold members, Adam K, Anna, Bowsah, Cecily Carrozza, Dannohh, Drellesh, Emily O'Kelly, Fulish Fuji, Hoppel, John 32, Jose Jimenez, Marcus O'Neill, ScheiGuy, Tim Aulph, and Tim Paullin. Jake, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us today. It was an honor, and it was awesome having you. And I hope you come back and rock with us again in the future, because you were a delight, my friend.
Matt,
oh my God.
Give me 2 seconds. Spider-Man, you love it. Into the Spider-Verse.
Loved it. It could very well be my favorite movie of all time.
Same. That was our review.
We'll talk about it.
Masterpiece, 10 out of 10. Can't stop talking to my filmmaker friends about it.
See,
so many
look
things
at that.
to
All
say.
three of us.
So many things to say. I think I'm going to write an essay about it. I can't get it off my mind.
I told you, it's the first movie I've seen in a long time that made me have a lot of feelings again. Like it gives you the feels, man.
Across the Spider-Verse, like they swung, dude. They did not make an easy sequel. They went for it, and I cannot wait for Beyond now. Just, oh God. But Jake, again, thank you.
And thank you both again. This was an absolute pleasure. I was very publicly vying for this, so to have the opportunity, it was really great. I thank you both, and I thank your audience for having me. Really,
of course.
Thank you, Jake.
Come and hang out with us again in the future. But Jake, again, if people wanted to see and hear more from you, where could they find you?
Just head over to twitter.com/Jake Knows It. Knows like the thing on your face. And that'll about do it. You can always see my content over at youtube.com/GameXplain. But I do all sorts of things. So just, keep your ear to the wind, and maybe you'll hear my name whispered.
Whoa, we will definitely whisper it here much more often. Court, where can people see and find you?
I don't know if I can top that. Like the ear to the wind thing. That was like poetry,
that was
right?
Incredible.
You can find me on Twitter at Cordelon, or you can find me also at Carpool Gaming, or you can find me also on Twitch at Carpool Gaming Live. I was trying that out today. I'm going to try out more. I think Matt and I are going to try and figure out how we can get mini golf VR onto so everybody can laugh at what Matt and I say to each other while we're playing that game. But that's where you can find me.
And of course, you can find me over on Twitter at Matt_SilverSoul, and of course on PlayStation Drive here each and every week. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate your time always, and we will see you on the next one. Peace.